voices in the blackest night, spitting tales of emerald light. Myron and Phil with the banter tight, lantern stories taking flight. Heroes clad in emerald light, cosmic battles in the dark of night. Guardians calling from the galactic height, power rings are shining bright. Tune in for the mighty lore, legends that you can't ignore. From Mogo to Sinestro's War, the podcast of all that gives you more.
Hey, Green Lantern fans, welcome to episode number 267 of the podcast of Bova. I'm your co-host, Myron Rumsey, and I am joined by my friend on the other end, Mr. Phil Bova. Phil, my friend, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Looking forward to talking. Looking forward to getting on with you. I know we've been chatting off mic. We always do. I usually touch base with you once or twice a day.
Well,
But
I'm looking forward to
you
this.
and I struggling with the old life. But
Oh, I tell you, this getting old
yeah,
stuff is for the birds.
it
But
is.
anyway, we've got a couple comic books to talk about. We're going to talk about Green Lantern number 28 and Green Lantern Corps number 10 as the books kind of go off on their separate ways a little bit. In the aftermath of the Starbreaker supremacy. So I'm excited to talk about these books.
They weren't bad.
No,
I mean, I
they
see
weren't
stuff.
great, but they weren't bad.
They, I see stuff developing, but I'm still confused with John Stewart. I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around what's happening here. I mean, there's two to anyway, whatever. We'll get into that later.
We'll get into it. Not a lot of Green Lantern news other than all the dialogue circling around Warner Brothers and the sale of Warner Brothers and who the partners might be and all that stuff. And lots of rumors out there floating about what's going to happen with DC Universe after the sale, depending on who buys it and all kind of stuff. And it's like, I can't get worked up over it until we know facts, and we don't know facts.
We don't, and that's why they put it out there for the scare value.
Sure, it's for clicks. It's for clicks.
But at the end of the day, I will be honest with you, and I don't care who does what, and I don't care what happens with what. These streaming services, I mean, they're getting they're getting to the point where they're not affordable anymore. And they
No.
keep raising and raising and raising. And then they make the dumb decisions where they lay off about the thousands of employees and then they start raising the prices of their stuff. It's like, what are you, idiots? Really? You expect me to pay that now?
It's funny, back in the old days when it was basically just Netflix and everybody went to Netflix, that was kind of the good old days, right? You could have one, maybe two streaming services and get everything. And now everything's kind of siloed and everybody's got their exclusive content. And if you want the exclusive content, you got to buy their product or this one or that one. And it's just gotten out of hand, clearly.
And let's not forget the stupidity with the you can pay extra to have the ads, they still show ads.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There
I,
used
I
to,
miss I miss basic cable. They had HBO, they had Cinemax, they had Showtime, and you were up late at night, you got the good stuff on Cinemax, and if you weren't, too bad. And then you
yeah,
watch something else, USA Network, TNT was good, WGN Chicago. I mean, they had great stations at one time. They're all gone.
yep.
All
They're
gone.
all gone. And now it's funny, like Amazon is the one I complain about the most. I have a Prime membership, and it used to be you got things commercial free.
Yeah.
Now they want you to pay extra to get rid of the commercials. It's like,
Yep.
really?
Same. And I still shell out money to have your stuff delivered all the time, and I still give you money all the time to order stuff. But I mean, you can't throw me a bone by having to show your crap ads with everything.
Yeah,
Especially on a half an hour show where you got to show 10 minutes of whatever, man.
right. Like, I don't mind it if it's in the beginning, but when you interrupt the movie with an ad, like, come on.
This is why people pirate. And
You're
you need to
right.
realize that. And nobody understands that. And it's like, well, people don't want to pay this. You're right. They don't want to pay this. But they also don't want to deal with the hassle of the stuff we're just talking about. They don't want it anymore. So
Right,
why not
right.
pirate? I mean, there's plenty of VPNs out there that you can purchase that'll block everything you do. So by all means.
That's what seems
Screw
unfortunately
you,
that's where it's going.
Comcast.
Right, right, right. It's crazy. Anyway, we got some Green Lantern books to talk about. So why don't we jump right in with Green Lantern number 28?
Love
Uh,
it.
First issue to leap off of the whole thing, and boy, what a misleading cover, right? You have
It
Hal and
is
Carol
very
holding
much so.
hands and star-crossed, and I'm like, boy, that's really one of the things that, I wasn't really paying attention to the legacy numbering, but this is issue 595. I wonder if there's something planned for 600. I hope so.
I mean, one can hope. I hope it's a
Yeah.
better cover that conveys the message on what goes on, except the failed date, because that's what happens. They didn't even get to go on a date.
But not.
So
Uh,
whatever.
and you kind of
Right.
wonder if the cover, the star-crossed thing is leaning into maybe there are going to be problems between Hal and Carol. I hope not. We've kind of been around and around with this over the years. I kind of want them to just see them get their act together, and it seems like they're in a good place. But boy, when you've got Hal running off to go be with Ollie, you know, you know there's going to be trouble.
And not only that, man, come on, how many times have you ran off and left Carol? You know?
Yeah.
And understandably, the dialogue beforehand, you're all like, oh, I'm the best. This is the greatest life, and I got the best gal. And then you go and screw the pooch by bailing on her date. And it's like, come on, man, really? Allie
Right.
can wait. Allie can wait.
That's right.
I
So,
will say the comical side of Hal is really good.
yeah.
I really like the sequence where he's dragging what's his face through Coast City.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. The whole issue opens up with a bit of a mystery, and that, of course, leads us to where this story is going to go as they get the Book of Oa while they're searching through the Castle of the Desolate Stone, and suddenly they find Hal's name on a page, which, of course, why would that be? Who knows? And then it jumps to the sequence you're talking about where Hal is taking this guy, and I don't remember his name, but it's not important, on this really humorous tour of Coast City. I thought it was a lot of fun. Seems like a lot of pages to use to drive home the fun point, but I get it. This is after an event, and I use event in air quotes because I don't know if it was really an event, but after this big story, you need a little bit of a breathing room, and this is a lot of character development, right? So it's cool to see how go around and show off different things in the city to show off what's going on in Coast City, what makes it stand up. One of the things that it made me think about was is he's showing off the Kaminsky building named after the editor of the comic.
Mhm.
Hal says it was built in the 80s. Like,
Uh,
well, was Coast City destroyed or not? I don't know now. Now I'm like I'm questioning what's still in continuity because
I wish
never
I
would.
had I wish I had Jeremy's number. I'd text him right now and ask him. I would interrupt this whole damn night just saying, "Hey man, what gives?"
I have messaged him because he wanted to come on the show, but I haven't heard back from him. But I know he recently had a death in the family, so I'm assuming he's dealing with that kind of stuff right now. But that is one of the questions I have for him is this particular sequence. It almost implies that did some of this stuff not happen? I don't know. Maybe it was rebuilt after the rebirth of Coast City. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. And it's one of the things that I hear complaints about sometimes of Adams and some other writers playing kind of fast and loose with what we know to have happened. And it seems like an awful big thing to kind of gloss over. So
Well,
we'll
maybe
ask
it
them.
maybe it didn't happen. Maybe it didn't happen. Subsequently, everything else really didn't happen. We don't get Simon Baz. We don't get all these other Earth Lanterns that are thrown out. Kelly's gone. The, you know, they're all gone, right? We go back to point A and we just got, and we don't even have Kyle Rayner anymore. Kyle Rayner could be gone. We just
Send your
got, yeah, there we go, man. The three
send your
guys.
postcards to Phil Bova.
Or hay bale.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. He's taking him on a little tour, and he gets called back to Oa, which I found it funny when they said you wouldn't believe me if I told you. At this point, I think Hal would believe pretty much anything, right?
You'd think.
So he's off to Oa. I loved the little race car construct. Thought it was interesting for a space journey, but it's fun. A flying space car. And then there's a fun little sequence with Odyssey and Connell and Connor and Kyle as Kyle's trying
So
to test out his power.
I'll be honest right here. I would have liked more of this and less of that sequence with that dude being drugged through the city, right? Because I really, really like the dynamic of these three together. I think it's working really well, though I'm not entirely sure what their point is and where they're going with what they're doing. I mean, okay, so the White Lantern, I get that part of it, but like why John, right? Why this other why are these three together and what is their role play? Because it doesn't seem like they've had a significant role other than focusing on Kyle Rayner and his this ridiculous his White Lantern, you know. That seems like it's been the whole focus of Kyle. I guess that's his thing.
I guess they can't find anything else for him to do. Um,
Poor Kyle.
poor Kyle, you know. Uh, it's a fun little sequence. I love the part where um, Connor is flying through the air and Hal grabs him
Yeah.
and he goes, "I got you," and then he goes, "Well, yeah, who's got you?" And there's kind of a little chuckle there, which is a nice little wink and a nod to '78 Superman. Fun stuff. We don't really get an answer about Kyle other than, they're trying to figure out how long does it take for this power to recharge when he uses it. It could be important. I don't know what I think about it. I think I liked it better when he was just the White Lantern and he just had it all the time. But we'll see
Well,
what
not
we
only
say
that,
about it.
why do we need the White Lantern anyway? What I mean, the point of the White Lantern was for a reason with Blackest Night, right? I mean,
Yeah.
there was a significant purpose with Brightest Day. So why do we need a White Lantern to begin with? Other than the fact, oh, he's cool, he's unique, he's a White Lantern. He's the only White Lantern that can yield the White Lantern power, you know. But like, okay, I would like to have a purpose for Kyle. If this is going to be your sequence of events to make him a character, then start showing more of a purpose for him instead of him, him just being a throwaway character that's dealing with some kind of issues with his power. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like the only way to put him.
I gotta think they've got to have an end game in mind. I mean, the downside to this and really leaving him a White Lantern is whenever you're in trouble, just call Kyle in. He can deal with it. He's got the White Lantern power.
Right.
I don't want that to happen to the character. I think it's a bad thing to do with the character. But I get you're trying to find a way to make him unique again because Kyle really stood out when he was the only one. Now that he's in a crowd of way too many Earth Lanterns, he doesn't stand out from a crowd. I mean, Joe Mullane's got the same problem.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. All right. So then we get to the Guardians. They had their little meetup where all their little corrupt secret natures come out. It doesn't matter what version of the Guardians there is, they're always cryptic, right? I mean, they don't ever have any kind of like, they're all full of it. I mean,
Right.
I laughed the whole time. I'm like, God, even this version of these characters can't even be honest and true. What the hell?
Yeah. I got a case of the here we go agains with it. Interesting Hal's reaction when he got close to the book, right?
Hmm.
He has no idea. Something comes to his head because he says that none of this is what we thought. And I once again was the secret history of the Guardians. Another chapter gets unveiled. It seems like whenever we get to a certain point with some of these runs, that's the go-to plot, right?
No, and I don't mind. Like, here's the thing. Blackest Night pulled off something from the Book of Oa, but don't make the Book of Oa just to be some kind of, I guess you can say, I wouldn't even know what it would be called, a plot device, but if you're going to use it as a plot device, then at least have a thread that goes back to a content, right? So if you're going to pull something from the book, oh, this new revelation of the Book of Oa, well, is it really new? I mean, the Book of Oa has never been explored, number one, and there's only been fragmented sentences that have come out of it throughout the comic book history, number two, one of which has been Blackest Night. So if you're going to pull from the Book of Oa, then use it properly. And that was my only beef with this whole thing, and especially like the Hal Jordan page. And this goes back to what you and I always talk about. So everybody rips on Hal Jordan being the Green Lantern, whatever the case may be. Yet at the end of the day, Hal Jordan obviously is the Green Lantern. I mean, his name is in the book of Oa, right? So right there it tells you number one, he's a prime character. So obviously whatever's happening revolves around the prime character, Hal Jordan. So I don't know why anybody says Hal Jordan should not be the main Green Lantern. And there's proof positive why.
Right, right. It's interesting in terms of what this mean when it signifies. Is this a page that it was writing that was hidden and you couldn't see it? What does it mean? I don't know. Why would you have a page with just his name on it? And I guess that's what remains to be seen. But it certainly makes the Guardians nervous that Hal has got information that they don't want him to have.
Well, and then
He
his
doesn't know it
comment,
yet.
right? None of it is what we thought. Okay, that's vague. How long you going back to that comment? And how long does that go back, right? So that means Blackest Night is what we thought. I mean,
Right.
that's pretty
Yeah,
open-ended.
I don't know what they're going to do with it. I'm obviously curious as to what's going to happen, but yeah, you worry about how convoluted does the history of the Guardians get when we keep adding layers and layers and layers of hidden history and so on. And I get, history is written by the victors, but I don't know. I still in the back of my mind, I'm still drawn to the way the Guardians used to be, where the Guardians they weren't they weren't evil, they weren't bad, they weren't misguided. They simply were out of touch, and that's what I liked was the all-knowing Guardians who had been around for so long and had been they look at the world in such a from such a mile high view that they've lost touch with the important things. They want to protect the universe from evil, but can't remember exactly why, other than evil's bad.
And being partly naive.
Yeah, yeah, being naive by the fact that they're not involved in day-to-day life and can't relate to the little people essentially. Um, no joke intended. Um, so it's interesting, but apparently Hal knows something. Hal doesn't know he knows something about it yet, but it will untangle as time goes on, as his mind processes what's happened. And we still got Krona. I mean, they at least allude to Krona still being an issue. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. They're going to leave Oa. We'll find out what happens. Too early to judge. Other than I'm a little cautious about it, just because we've kind of been down this road a little bit before.
So this is Krona now, right here in this version of what Hal Jordan is. I don't even know if that's Hal. It
Yeah,
looks like
yeah. When Hal heads back to Earth, it cuts to a scene with Krona, and Krona understands the Guardians are on the move, and they've received pieces of his consciousness, and they know something's missing, a piece of their origin, which is yet untold, a piece that the consciousness of Krona, will take for his own. And we
yet
see him in
untold.
the
And
yeah,
how many times have the Guardians been untold? I mean, we haven't even really had a good exploration of their personal whatever, you know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's all foreshadowing what this is going to be. Um, Note to the art team: Hal's eyes are not blue; they're brown.
Right.
But that's one of my nitpicks.
That might be Krona's eye. Hold on. Maybe the
Yeah,
other one is behind. The other one's brown behind the white cover.
it could be. It depends on what they're doing with this. I mean, he was coming back in Hal's body, a duplicate of Hal's body, and it got disrupted. So maybe it just changed the color. But
And I'm
it's
kind
never
of wondering
it's
why did
never always been consistent anyway, right?
no, no, not really. And I wonder why he chose Hal Jordan's body. And where did he get the body? Like, did he did he just grow it or something? Did he have like part of his DNA and said, "Hey, I'm gonna just pipe this into this little thing here and grow me a Hal Jordan
Yeah.
body?"
I mean, it sounds like he was going to use Hal's body to kind of destroy the core from within. Uh, which again, we've kind of seen this before with the Durlans, right? Back when the Venditti
Yeah.
run, the
Mhm.
Durlans kind of made themselves look like Hal there for a little bit. Hopefully, this is at least a unique twist on a familiar theme. We'll see. And then, as you pointed out, Hal goes to the watchtower and sees Carol inside, and he's kind of opining his love for her and how lucky he is. And you kind of wonder if does Adams have him saying all this stuff because he's about to put a bump in the road, right?
Typical. Poor
And
Al.
just when they touch, and you wonder if is this part of the fact that she's tied to the only part of the emotional spectrum that isn't on Oa, because if there's no Xamarin power battery. So it seems like right now Carol is the only Star Sapphire. Once they touch, Hal goes all haywire and then sees this image. And I'm trying to figure out what some of this stuff is.
Yeah,
The most
I could.
intriguing thing to me are those the ring lights, which I'm assuming they're ring lights in the shape of a number seven. Interesting stuff. I
Well,
don't
the seven would signify the levels of the spectrum, right? Roy
right.
G. Biv?
Yep, but if you notice, they're not in Roy GB. They're not in Roy GB of color order, and one
No.
of them looks black. The second one over from the left looks black.
Or it could be blue, maybe.
Maybe it's just a colorist thing. I'm not sure. But yeah, it was interesting that there were seven colors here, and it looks like all of them are represented. But yeah, blue's the only one I don't see, so maybe that is blue.
I wonder if the, and what is that tower? Is that what tower is that? I don't remember seeing that anywhere.
No, I don't recall seeing that either. And if you see, there's a cloaked figure at the bottom of the tower too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. And what's really interesting to me is that first picture of Hal at the top. Does not look like Krona because he looks complete. He doesn't have all the scars and the damage to the right side of his body that we see in the other image. So does something happen and is Hal hit with their energies? I mean, it looks like they're attacking him, but it could also be that they're imbuing him with something too. It you could read that multiple ways.
The only thing I can think of that has any kind of amount of difference is, like you had stated, Star Sapphire, they don't have a lantern on Oa,
Mhm.
right? And everything else is taking place on Oa. All the other emotional spectrums are there, all the other lanterns are there, right? So, and not only that, all the Corona stuff is happening. It's all happening on Oa. I wonder if there's some kind of infection. I wonder if Corona has infected the emotional spectrum in some way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's what I find really interesting is that this seems to be so connected back to the core, yet this series is not intertwined with the core series right now
Right, right.
as of this issue. So it seems odd that you're going to do this story and not have the two books connected anyway. But maybe this is a slight diversion until they do get back together again as the story unfolds. We'll see. And then unfortunately it leaves that there's something going on and there's a message for Star City and they were going to send Carol there and Hal jumps in and says he'll do it. I don't know why they just didn't both do it.
Yeah, I don't, I, there's a reason why he went alone though.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would only be, because the next title says Hard Traveling Hero. So I would imagine it's just because it's Ollie and it's Hal being selfish because that's their thing and they're
It it,
buddies, you
it could
know?
be, and the foreboding panel of Carol at the end, where she says that maybe when you go back, you'll let me know what's going on, and that's always been Hal's thing, right? Hal doesn't come forward and say what's bothering him, like a lot of guys do. I mean, one of the many failings of being a guy, right, is that we often keep those things close to our vest because either we don't want to show weakness or we don't want to worry the other person we care about. Whatever reason, it's hard to share that load, right?
Or we're working it out.
Yeah, true, very true. So I don't know what's going on here, but it almost looked like there was a little fracture. And you combine that with the cover and the star-crossed lovers thing, and you kind of wonder if this is the beginning of the cracks in the relationship showing. But what I'm hoping is that it may be a crack, but it isn't a fissure, and that this is a point at which will bring them closer together. Because
I have a,
couples do that. They go through growing burst periods, and
absolutely, absolutely. And I have a feeling Hal, being Hal, and what I've kind of noticed is like when he has these events, right? Because these things have happened before with him in the past, but it's like these little, whatever that the book thing talking to him or whatever. He's had odd things happen to him, but a lot of times he's been dismissive of it and it's always come back, but he's always confronted it, right? And that's goes back to Hal being the tactician that he is, because a lot of times he categorizes things that he knows, well, I can't do anything about it now because I don't have enough information, so I'm going to go to the next thing and worry about that. And somewhere along the line, it'll work itself out.
I've always looked at some of this as, we see at least in the John's retro version of Hal and his parents that Hal's mother and father, what drove a wedge between them most often in their relationship was the danger involved in Martin Jordan's occupation and how much that bothered Jessica Jordan. And it drove a wedge for them because she always worried about him. And I kind of wonder sometimes as Hal as a young person, as a young boy, seeing that and compartmentalizing that off because he doesn't want somebody to he loves to worry about him, right?
Right.
And it's a very natural thing for a man to feel. You don't want your significant other to worry about you, so you just try to deal with it on your own. When the strength of your relationship is it can bear that burden, and you can share that load emotionally and mentally and psychologically. But we as a men have a hard time doing that, right?
Right.
So it's
And a
it's
lot of
very
times it,
natural.
and a lot of times it's the default feeling, right? When you've been with somebody long enough, they're like, well, I get that person. So a lot of times they're left to their own devices to even go through what they're going through, you know?
Right. And we foolishly do things where we're like, well, we'll take care of it on our own so we won't be a burden to someone else and not worry the ones we love, not knowing that by not opening up, we're scaring them more and they
Yeah.
worry more. I know, that's going through the stroke and everything, that was one of the things that bothered me so much is that my wife worries about me a lot. And so, you try to mask things to think that they're not going to worry as much, but in actuality, they can see that you're masking things and they worry more. So
Look at there, man. Jeremy Adams in his writing, and it's a life lesson for us. As men.
I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I find it something I can relate to.
We're gonna run with it. We're gonna run with it, Hal and Carol. I hope somewhere along the way your star-crossed ways will just maybe issue 600 will be they're gonna tie the knot.
Oh, there you go. That wouldn't be a hype event, would it? That would be very typical. Issue 600, they get
Give it
very
to me and make it a wedding album because I want to buy like copies of it, like the Superman one.
Well, I thought it was a good issue. There are criticisms about Jeremy's run, and I don't think they're invalid. But I also look at you have to give creators the ability to tell their story, even if it's not the way maybe you want it told. Sometimes you have to just kind of go with it. And I think for any writer on Green Lantern, it's difficult because everything is always going to be compared to the Johns run. And how does anything compare to that? Because you just had the perfect alignment of the creativity of Jeff Johns and his roadmap of what he built and the timing of the return of Hal and how that was needed. And all of that just came together. And that was lightning in a power battery, right? I don't know as if that'll ever happen again. And every writer that's jumped in, whether it's Robert Venditti or Grant Morrison or whatever, they've all faced those same challenges of living up to the the burden of comparison. And I like Adams' run overall. Do I think I wish he'd spend some more time building things up and have them more weight? Absolutely. I think they would carry more weight in the story if we felt like the story evolved a little bit more at a rate. Pacing is the issue, I think, sometimes. And we're at a rush to get to the end instead of letting the story breathe. But that's only my opinion. Everybody's opinion is valuable and none of it's wrong. But
I mean, it really isn't, and I don't know what the barometer is for his run as compared to other ones. I mean, you and I was always taught, right? Hey, where's a good starting point for Green Lantern? No, Rebirth. It's
right,
always Rebirth. I
it's
mean, everybody says Rebirth, right? And it
right.
doesn't matter the team before it, because if you read Rebirth and then they'll say, oh, well, you can go back and read the stuff before it. I got news for you. If you read the stuff before it, Rebirth makes no sense. I mean, to me. But
You really don't have to go back any further. That's the
you really
reality.
don't. You can just ignore it altogether. I mean, just but anyway, so yeah, you're right. And I wouldn't know what I would do if I was writing Green Lantern. I don't think I could deal with the like I would finding myself reading what everything and trying to find ways to fix every little tiny thing that I could to adhere to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I know if I was in charge, I'd be cleaning the house, but that's me. Uh,
Well, and that too, right?
right. But yeah, there are some plot points that I've always wanted to see wrapped up, but it's almost at this point, it's like, right? You drudge it up, and do you just is there some point where you just have to ignore it and just move forward, or what? I don't know. I don't think it's a. I think Green Lantern
Right.
continuity is such a convoluted mess that you're never going to close all those holes. You're never going to address all those dangling plot threads. So you just have to move forward, right? I think that's what every writer's jumped into is the wow, what a quagmire. You know, I mean, Jeremy Adams, he at one point had said that he was trying to get himself off the book because he was worried about the burden of continuity that he doesn't have that with Aquaman as an example. I mean, there's history in Aquaman and things to deal with, but it's not nearly as sprawling as this. This is a beast.
Mm,
Anyway,
agreed.
let's take a break and come back and talk about Green Lantern Corps number 10.
This is Giancarlo Volpe, producer of Green Lantern, the animated series, and you're listening to the podcast of OA.
All right, fellow Owen, we are Green Lantern Corps number 10, and we are in the cockpit with John Stewart. This is the first one, the second one. I'm not sure which one. And Captain Tui.
So, so I believe Morgan Hampton has gone on record of saying that this is our John.
Our
And
John.
when
John
John,
back.
well, and that's the odd thing is John split himself in two. So there are two copies of John, each now having their own history from this point forward. And this John is, I don't know how they should be indistinguishable. But apparently this one is our John, and the other one was more of the Godstorm type John. But whatever. But we have a John, and that's one of the criticisms, right? Is that all of the character development of John Stewart since the end of the Thorn run is essentially chucked out the window. And so a lot of people are not happy with the fact that Philip Kennedy Johnson's run is kind of rendered moot, other than the fact that Kelly is there with a power ring, and you've got Ellie as a construct, and you've got John's power ring with his mother's essence in it. And you
I
see a little
like
bit of
War
that.
Journal. I
What's
thought
that?
War Journal was good, man. I thought War Journal was a great book. I enjoyed it. I don't want it to be irrelevant, you know.
Right. And you don't know if at some point there's going to be a chance for John to merge memories. I don't know. But this is a John Stewart that doesn't understand what's going on with his mother and with Ellie, and understands that she's gone, and he doesn't like the ring deal with the mother's essence in it. And certainly when he sees Ellie, that's a problem too, right? And he's here with Kat Matui, and this Katma is also different. This is a Kat Matui plucked from Hyper Time. Looks like she has a cybernetic leg. We don't know the story behind that. She doesn't have any connections to Oa. She doesn't know what a Green Lantern is in terms of her own history. So we don't know if in this version of the universe that she's from, if Sinestro's even a bad guy. She may not know any of this stuff. So it's interesting to see where she approaches this. But obviously, she and John have been cohabitating and building a relationship and learning to know each other all over again for the first time, right? uh,
Right.
so
And then the problem I had with this issue was doubling down by throwing not only Cat Matui in there, but also throwing in his other ex in here. It's like, okay, really? You had to throw in two exes? The dude just got back from Toa, not knowing anything going on, and you're gonna have two exes that are gonna be writing this. I don't know. That was a lot because I didn't expect this reality at all.
it's interesting. This John is like content to, hey, I'm going to give the ring back and going back where I was. Uh, so interesting and to see what's happening. John is at peace with being out by himself and out in the universe in the dark sector, living his life and not being burdened by the ring. And then when he sees Oa and sees what's going on, it's kind of a different thing. And we jump to the training scene where we're seeing Kelly and the Narf character and Aya going through training, and Kelly with her attitude. I, ah,
In her own ring now, apparently.
yeah, yeah. And Guy, what? Oof. Art wise, that panel with Guy Gardner where he's kind of thumbing up and talking to her about she's complaining about things and he's talking about endurance. What this is about is endurance. Boy, that's an awful look.
Yeah, the artwork in this particular issue, I didn't like Kilowog at some points either. It looked, I don't know what it was. Looked like Barney on steroids. What?
But yeah,
So bad.
Kilowog looked a little portly.
Yeah.
I get he's large, but he's not heavy. But this he just looked very portly. But these characters are going through boot camp. Odd to see Aya going through boot camp, but it is what it is. And then it cuts back to the Great Hall, and we're seeing all of this stuff between all of the different corps trying to share the same space, and it not going too well. Again, reminds me a lot of Mosaic in regards to trying to mix all these cultures together, and none of them really getting along too well.
Still gonna add Sinestro, the chump. Just chump. I mean, it's he's a chump now. That's so sad. I'm so sad to see Sinestro these days because he didn't have anything to say hardly, you know. And if he does, it's not significant, or it's irrelevant, or nobody cares, or he's always just ignored.
And what do you
Really.
think? What do you think about Razor being there representing the Red Lanterns and not Atrocitus?
No, I think about that.
Kind of odd. And it was also interesting not to see Larfleeze there. So everybody's there but Larfleeze. I guess it makes sense for Larfleeze not to be there. That would be in character for him. But
Well, they complained about his smell, so maybe he took a point and didn't come.
yeah, also interesting that Ellie is there. But is Saint Walker there too? Maybe he's there too. Yeah, he's there. Odd that there are two Blue Lanterns, but whatever. It's just an odd thing. And obviously, Ellie senses that John is back, not realizing. Well, she got to realize it's a different version of John, and him not wanting to put the ring on. And John now seeing Ellie for the first time has an unusual reaction, and he doesn't want to talk to her. He's trying to find out what's going on. Goran's son looking a little weird there too. I might add the art in this book is all over the place, and Fernando Pazarin's the way he draws female expressions. Oof. So yeah, I'm not thrilled with the artwork in this issue at all. John putting the ring back on with this one thing. One thing's going to lead to another, right?
Yeah, pretty much he's back when he said he's not back. And he opened it up to salvo by going back to Oa to begin with, because I mean, I'm not even the biggest fan of John Stewart, but I know enough to know about John Stewart to say, well, he's going to go back, he's going to explore what the hell's going on or what's
Right.
happening. He's not going to quit. Come on,
In my mind, John clearly, even though he's talking a big game about not wanting to go back, if John Stewart didn't want to go back, he wouldn't go back.
right?
He'd just tell the ring to, move along. But he didn't do that, which tells me, yeah, he really does want to be back. Well, we'll see. But I don't know. I'm not too thrilled with this whole issue, to be honest. It's okay, but again, Guy Gardner looking awful bad. Um, the art is just all over the place,
Hmm.
and we see them go through the training and trying to deal with things. And it's supposed to be a no-win scenario. This is a Kobayashi Maru test, right? And they cheat.
And they still don't beat it because, again, it's a Kobayashi Maru.
Yeah, and we've got fatality showing up and having issues, it's just a lot to throw in. I don't know where Hampton's going with it. I don't get what the deal is with this new threat they've put forth.
The one that absorbs into Green Lanterns and takes their life forms or whatever it looks like.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of an interesting any premise. I don't know what much enough about it yet to know much more. John having a conversation with Fatality and telling her that her home world is essentially back.
Well, I will say out of all the dialogue though, the part at the end where Fatality's leaving, you know, and there's a two-panel part where John is talking. And I think that sums up a lot of what I hope they do with this series. You know what I mean? I mean, he makes a valid point about how, you know, because I mean, we're used to the Green Lantern Corps being around in the universe, right? And policing it, so to speak, or whatever the case may be. And it's been a long time since that happened, right? Now, whether they go back to that same measure when they return to their full force or not, we'll never know. Or if it is, it's way down the line. But I like what he says here about their failings, you know, and we have to find another way. And that's really, really good positive motion for him. But that's more of something that a leader would say. So I don't know if he's gearing up to lead this kind of charge, him being back and all, but I would venture to guess that's what's gonna happen moving forward. I think he's gonna be the top character in this book. It would make sense him carrying it, you know. He is the premier one. If because Hal's not in it, or if he does, he may or may not show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I thought the dialogue between Fatality and John was the best part of this issue.
mhm, and that was cool. But other than that, again, I don't understand this Enquar. I don't. I don't think he hasn't been around before, right? He's never.
I don't recognize it at all.
He looks like a blue Durlin. He looks like I don't know if he's Morse or
Right. And
shape
and
different.
and Glenn is now, taken over by this being, and he's with Fatality and kind of sets that whole thing off. And boy, I just the artwork as I flip through this issue and look at it again, boy, oh boy, that artwork is bad.
Well, who's your artist on this one?
I think there's more than one, and I don't think they don't sync together very well, at least in my opinion.
Well, I mean, this is the charge, right? This is what the Green Lantern Corps is doing moving forward. Fernando Passarin,
Yeah, Fernando Pasarin, and we've seen his artwork before, but
right?
and his
Will
you can tell
Conrad.
it's his, but the other ones, and this Enquire, I don't know what to think of the Enquire. Uh, Apparently, there's history there because he says that the Green Lanterns destroyed both their homes. Why don't we return the favor? And we'll find out more because obviously it's hinting that next month we get Enquire's origin.
Yeah, and Effigy's Eternal Flame. Sorry.
Yeah, it was kind of a weak issue, but again, it's a lot of it is set up. I'm just not sure what I think about the setup at this point. But again, it's too early to tell.
Well, it
I
is coming off the Starbreaker, I mean, so we're kicking off a lead up to where we're going, so I didn't expect big things anyway. I mean, I'll be honest with you, these are the only two books I've been reading. I haven't read anything else. I haven't kept up with Aquaman. I haven't kept up with any of my other books.
No, I have a pile of books that I subscribe to through my local comic shop, and I haven't read any of them. It's just
Mhm.
been too crazy. But yeah, these are the only two books I've been reading on with any regularity. It's hard when you look at the artwork and you see Fernando Pasarin and his female facial expressions aside, his artwork is pretty good. But then when you get to some of the other stuff, it's just ugh. There's some of the panels with Guy Gardner and the couple of them with Aya are just it's hard to make. How do you make Aya, who we've known as a CGI created character, look human in with regular 2D art and whatever you want to try, this ain't it because she looks awful throughout this entire issue.
Yeah, she's a tough one, man. I can understand why that would be a hard to artwork though. I mean, it's easy to take it from a page and make it three-dimensional, but taking a three-dimensional one and putting on a page, it doesn't always translate very well.
No, no, and to me this it didn't translate well at all.
There you
And,
have it.
and I guess Morgan Hampton likes Ellie and the Ellie Kelly dynamic. I just you got an opportunity to whittle the herd down a little bit. You probably should have taken it, but that's my opinion.
Hey, you can't. It's a core book, man. You can't whittle this down. You
Oh,
need
sure
as
you
many
can.
members as you can. I still think there's something going on the corruption level on that on Oa.
Needs
I'm not
more.
bu- I'm not buying this whole all the lanterns together crap. It
Yeah,
just doesn't jive well with me. There's no way you can put all those lanterns together and expect them to get along. There's no way that happens.
no,
There's no
no.
way. The world will tell you that right now. The state of the society would tell you that it doesn't work. But anyway, I think there's something going on, and I have a feeling Corona's behind it. And where's this gauntlet at? What happened to the gauntlet? Because Kelly doesn't have it anymore. So did somebody take the gauntlet and like it disappeared into the Phantom
Yeah,
Zone?
it kind of got used to restore his essence back in the end of the Starbreaker Supremacy, but I don't remember what happened afterwards with
The gauntlet can't be gone. And the coolest it did look was when Hal was wearing it. But I'm just saying.
it. All right, fans. Well, we've got some listener feedback, so we'll jump out, and when we come back, we'll answer your questions.
Our first message is from JP Roca, who has some comments about the current run of Green Lantern. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
I respect the work Adams is doing with Green Lantern. Unfortunately, I think his execution is imperfect. The plot is hard to follow. His action scenes are also hard to follow. Characters do not seem to have a chance to grow. For example, I still do not know what Adams was doing with the Superboy, Kyle, and Odyssey Special Ops team. Adams writes like Doug the Talking Dog from Up. He is very erratic, jumping from point to point and never truly flushing out one idea.
Hey, JP, I appreciate your comments and respect your opinion. I have some problems with it as well. I mean, the execution is imperfect. I think the problem is that we expect perfection, right? That's the thing is I don't think there's a way for there to be perfection, but there are things that could be tightened up. Agreed. I'm enjoying the lightness of the run and the humorous parts and the character beats, but some of the plots were a little bit unusual. And like you, yeah, we don't know what the deal is with Superboy, Kyle, and Odyssey, other than he obviously enjoys writing those characters and they're kind of fun to watch. But what's the purpose or what's the point of them? I really don't know.
And that's what I said during the episode.
Yeah.
I feel like they've been along for the ride the whole time, but are they serving a purpose other than holding Kyle's hand? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And JP, I think sums up some of the things you and I were trying to say earlier is that he kind of jumps from point to point and doesn't really flush his ideas out. And I don't know if that's in a rush to try to get everything done. But yeah, I think if things were fleshed out a little bit more, we'd understand the weight of things more. The story could breathe a little more. It's kind of felt a little rushed. Maybe it'll be different now that we're kind of on our own with two different books, not really intertwining. I don't know. All I can say is I enjoy it more than the last run, which isn't saying much. So that's a good thing. I'll take the good, right?
That's right. We got to take what we can and run with it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I hope you hang on JP and find the things that you like in it and can enjoy that. It's hard though, having gone through the Johns era, right? It's hard to accept anything less, and nothing's got the there's. I just don't think we're ever going to see that again. As much as I would like to see Green Lantern become as popular as it was during the Johns era, I just don't see it happening.
Well, ask yourself this: when was the last time you read a Green Lantern book where you had shock value, or you were surprised, or you're like, man, or you're like, this is so good, I can't wait for the next issue, or man, that issue was just amazing. The story. I mean, I'm not saying this to be a like critic of Adams or anybody who writes Green Lantern, but it's hard to do that with anybody, right? I mean, let
Yeah.
alone mass people. So if you take Blackest Night as your as your one point in all comic book history where that's where the Green Lanterns peak, I mean, you're looking at a J curve, right? Because that thing just came down since then, and it may have leveled off here in periods of there, but it's never gotten to the height of what that was. And
No.
again, it goes back to that shock value. I haven't, the last time I read a comic book that had that feeling for me would have been back with Blackest Night. I mean, that would have been that far back. I haven't been surprised and shocked by things that have happened. I've been like, oh, that's cool, or wow, that's kind of neat that you did that. But nothing has captured me to where I've actively said I can't wait for the next issue to get here.
Yeah.
And I miss that.
It's funny when you think about the Johns run, even everything that came after Blackest Night suffered by comparison to Blackest Night and Sinister Corps War, right? Like, War
Sure.
of the Green Lanterns was compared to it. The Rise of the Third Army was compared to it. Everything was compared to that stuff. Even
Gotcha.
John, even Johns couldn't capture his own magic again, right? Um, so it's I try to look at at least it's not the Thorn Run. um,
I mean, yeah, that's
even the early Venditti stuff. I mean, I as human beings, I really like Robert Venditti and Jeremy Adams. They're both extremely nice guys. I've met them both multiple times. They're very good people, and they both suffered from some similar failings. That initial Venditti run really was not all that good. It got better once editorial got out of his way and he could do Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. I mean, a lot of people can look at those two runs, his New 52, the running in the beginning there when he took over for Johns, and he did that whole thing with the lights out, which was abysmal in my mind. Uh, he had the whole lights out thing, and that whole era was a lot worse than when he was writing the Four Corpsmen because editorial got out of his way. I think, and some of the things that he said to me, kind of the inside baseball stuff, was that he was almost micromanaged essentially with what he could and couldn't do. But by the time they got to Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, they'd kind of let go of that, and he was allowed to just do his own thing.
I liked Venditti's run. I really enjoy. I liked Renegade. I mean, I really enjoyed the Renegade period. But outside of that, I think it'd be cool if Venditti came back and did Green Lantern. I'd like to see him write it again. And it won't happen, but I think it'd be cool for him to come back and get another crack at it and pick up where he left off.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind that. And Adams, again, heck of a nice guy,
Yep.
but I think same problem. And he's trying to. I think Jeremy's is to me, just my perspective and me looking at it as a old Green Lantern fan. I think he's trying to make everybody happy, and in doing so, he's not making anybody happy. But
That happened.
yeah, it can happen. Anyway, Power Ring, why don't you go ahead and give us the next piece of listener feedback?
The next message is from Dr. Horner 92. He has some comments on the Grant Morrison run and the return of Aya in the comics. Transmitting in 3, 2, 1.
Grant Morrison's run is underrated in my opinion. It was the first GL run I got into and I enjoyed it very much. I've also been enjoying this Starbreaker event. It might not be the absolute best, but it's been good enough for me and has me super interested in the future post-Starbreaker. As someone who loves the animated series, Aya appearing was a highlight for me and I really hope she doesn't just become panel filler. I also wanted to thank you both for another great episode. I will be waiting for the next.
Dr. Horner 92. So I'm either going to say that it's the year you were born, how old you are. Whatever the case is, Dr. Horner, that's cool. Grant Morrison's run always gets under. I don't think anybody gives it enough praise. I think it was cool. I think it was a standalone in itself, and I think it was a unique spin on Hal Jordan and and a journey that he took in whatever continuity that took place. I guess that's how you can best phrase it, right?
Yeah, it almost looking at it now, it almost seems like it's an out of continuity book. It's the way
Right.
it feels, and it was clearly a love letter to the Silver Age. And there were some really good things. I mean, Liam Sharp's art was I mean, spot
Oh,
on. It was beautiful.
I mean, you can't compare. There won't be an artist that will touch what he did to Green Lantern on the Morrison run moving forward. No, nobody can compare that. Mm.
But I think part of what, I mean, when you go back and look at that, the first season was much stronger than the second, but the second season suffered from DC continuing to change multiple times how many issues were going to be in the season. That
Yeah,
caused issues. And Liam needing to take a break in the art, and that's why you had the whole Black Star thing.
which was
Uh,
cool.
it was good, but it was a forced break. It was kind of the summer miniseries, right, between the two seasons, if you want to look at it that way.
That was the whole entire run that I printed out those ID cards in. I had all the cover
Oh
art. And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And Liam Sharp is a heck of a nice guy, and I enjoyed. Some people didn't like the not the Grant Morrison-ness of it, if that makes sense. Sometimes he can go all over the place. Some people didn't like the fact that he would drop little Easter eggs and people didn't know what the Easter eggs were. And I always looked at it as if we don't get the Easter eggs, then you're not any worse off. They're not required reading to understand all of those elements. But for me, I didn't know some of them myself either. A lot of them I didn't know. I went out and researched them, and that made me appreciate it even more that Morrison plucked these little elements out
Well,
and
that's the
dropped them
problem
in.
with people, right? Their laziness. If you're gonna sit here and criticize what something did, and you're not gonna bother to do the footwork to go look up what it was, then what kind of reader are you? Right? I mean, I'm not trying to say that to be judgmental, but at the same time, I'm a reader. And if there's things in the context or whatever happens that maybe or I'll ask you, obviously, but if there's things that I don't even know, I'll go look it up. Oh, I never heard of that before. Let me go look it up. I mean, that should be the case, not just criticizing because the Easter eggs are being dropped. And Grant Morrison is a fantastic writer. I don't care what anybody says, and I wish he'd be on our show sometime.
But I understand some of the trouble with it. I know I really struggled when he did Final Crisis. I struggled wrapping my head around Final Crisis.
It
Uh,
was a tough one. That was a tough one.
yeah, I still to this day don't really know what the heck was going on in Final Crisis.
Just know that it was a crisis and it was some kind of final of it.
It was, it was a crisis. It was a final one. Uh, so I completely understand that, but I do think it's underrated and underappreciated. But again, it had the difficulty of where it stood in DC's publishing history and what was going on with the DC universe at the time. Seeing the Green Lanterns and the Green Lantern series both being canceled and then no apparent plan for what it was, and then you get this kind of off the wall wacky thing. I think if it had been done in tandem with the Venditti run and Humphreys on Green Lanterns, although at that point it was Dan Jurgens. If it had been running concurrently as almost an Elseworlds thing, I think it would have been fine. It would have been more well received. But because it was the only Green Lantern content we got, I think a lot of people were putting a lot of pressure on it to be what they wanted it to be and not what it was.
And mad props to Dr. Horner because that was his first foray into Green Lantern, and he chose the Grant Morrison run to do it in. And that's pretty bold. I mean, right?
Mhm.
Because if you read anything outside of that Morrison run, it ain't gonna have anything to do with the Morrison run. Yeah, I mean, you'll see some similarities. You'll see characters showing up, but none of the stories that take place really happen outside of that Morrison run. And I guess you would say normal DC that's not Grant Morrison continuity, right?
Right, right. Well, and that book didn't seem to connect anywhere with the rest of the DC universe. That's why it
Right.
feels so separate. And I'm
Yeah.
fine with that as a separate thing. And I think that's part of the problem that people had with it and why it is somewhat divisive amongst fans is it didn't seem to connect to anything and it seemed to ignore a lot of it. Well, it took into account a lot of the Silver Age stuff and a lot of the history, but it didn't seem so connected directly to things that people were expecting it to be.
Hey, side note question. Doc brings up a good point about post Starbreaker. Whatever happened did whatever happened to what's his face? The gray guy, the sad lantern. Is he gone? Did he just disappear or did he
It seemed like he sacrificed himself and his body was destroyed. Yes, may not be because it's comics.
All right.
It's comics.
So Dr. Horner might come be calling out a post Starbreaker thing, so we haven't seen the last of Sad Lantern. Oh well.
True. You never know. Dr. Horner, JP, thank you so much for asking some questions. And if you want to be a part of the show, just listen to what's coming up next, and our Power Ring will tell you how you can be a part as well. We'll be back in a minute.
You can become a part of the show by leaving a message up to 1 minute long on our voicemail line. Call us at 406-POD-OA. That's 406-763-6362. You can also email us at podcast@blogofoa.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome back, Owens. 267 is filed and ready to be put behind us. We're ready for 268 in the future.
That's right. That's
I'm looking
right.
forward to it. Maybe we'll have Adams on here before Christmas.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. I'm going to get this one out before Thanksgiving, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Now, I know we try to do this every week. And speaking of the holidays, between Thanksgiving and Christmas is going to be a hot zone because we're going to be gone all Christmas in Hawaii. We're flying there on the 21st, I think, and we'll be back on the 1st or the 31st. So I'll be in Hawaii the whole time. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not. I don't want to fly. I'm not a big flying person.
Gotcha.
Just don't deal with that too well. But I am looking forward to learning how to surf while I'm down there for Christmas. That'd be cool. Anyway, I know, so we might need to get some recording in before the holidays start.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a couple of episodes we can put in kind of in the bank and go from there.
I'd like
We'll figure it out, man. We'll figure it out.
Right on.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for taking time out of your day and making us part of your Green Lantern fan experience. Till next time, keep your power ring charged, treat each other well, and make every day your brightest day. Thanks so much for watching this Green Lantern video from the blog of OA. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find even more great Green Lantern videos, reviews, podcasts, and more at our main website, www.blogofoa.com. So until next time, keep your power ring charged and make every day your brightest day.